Joining us right now is retired U.S. Marine Corps General Anthony Zinni, who served as the commander in the Middle East during the Iraq War. General, thanks so much for spending the time. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you, Maria.
So the White House says that the Assad regime will pay a heavy price for any attack. Your thoughts on how to respond should they come up with another chemical attack?
I think that in this case, it should be much stronger than the last time. I thought the last time we certainly sent a signal that we would respond, but I thought the targeting was weak. I think now if he does it again, that indicates that he didn't feel that threatened in any way or paid a penalty. So I think the significance of a second strike would have to be much greater.
And do you think the president has allies on this across the world? This is not going to be the U.S. alone, right? I mean, how do you feel about the relationship that the president has been trying to strengthen with friends in the Middle East?
Well, I think it should include not only regional allies in the Middle East that should join us in any response, but I'd like to see more of our NATO allies. Obviously, the French have made a commitment, as you recently reported. But I'd like to see more of a NATO involvement in this. This whole business in Syria and the Middle East and ISIS has washed onto their shores, and we have yet to see an Article 5 response, attack on one's attack on all. And I think that across the world, but particularly Europe and the region, we should have more partners in this.
General, it's Dagan McDowell. What would a response look like, just say from the U.S.? Would it be airstrikes on all of the air bases in Syria, for example? I think there are 5 in addition to the one that the U.S. struck earlier this year. And would it be wise to even act preemptively?
I think if we have absolute certainty that they are mixing the chemical weapons and uploading them, a preemptive strike would be a responsible way to go so that those chemicals don't land on the poor innocents as we've seen before. I think in terms of the targeting, last time we hit the airfield, it was operational the next day. I think this time the significance would have to be greater, command and control facilities, headquarters, things that would really hurt Assad in the long run and hurt his ability to continue striking those targets that he's hit that are innocent people.
General, how does this impact the relationship with us and Russia if we do something like this preemptively?
Well, I think we obviously need to send a message to Russia that this won't be tolerated. But I would add that it's not only Russia that influences Assad, but Iran and even Hezbollah as well. So I'm not sure who he's listening to, but I think it should be made clear to Putin that this will not be tolerated, and the Russians could suffer from this because in many ways Assad is moving his assets next to Russian assets. That's going to complicate our targeting in some ways, but they have to bear responsibility for this. This is their surrogate.
Let me follow up on that question as it relates to Russia, because you're talking about putting Russian men, equipment, material in harm's way. What do you think Putin's response is going to be to try and co-opt or prevent some sort of interdiction or intercession by the United States or NATO allies?
I think that the message is clear. He has to make a decision on whether he would permit Assad to conduct another chemical attack. I think he pays a penalty in terms of what might happen with his forces if they're co-located where this attack originates. But I think we cannot back down and just let him provide a shield for Assad and let Assad at will to conduct these chemical attacks, which have been clearly a violation of red lines set down with the last 2 administrations.
Right, which is why you really want to see NATO participating here. More nations
Absolutely.
within NATO.
I think that sends the strongest message to Putin that there's NATO solidarity. That's one thing he's been trying to test in Eastern Europe and elsewhere. And if he sees that NATO is solidly behind any action we take, that might be a deterrent in and of itself.
General, good to see you. Did you want to?
I was just going to comment that I think I'm really pleased by Macron. I actually think in the early innings of the beginning of his term, he is beginning to behave like a true NATO ally, and I'm pleased by his interaction with the United States so far.
Absolutely. I think that's a good sign. And again, it might show that NATO is beginning to stand up, at least in certain quarters like in France.
All right, we'll leave it there. General, thanks so much for your insights on this. We so appreciate it.
Sure.